And hello again, welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries. As we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media, this is the show that connects the dots of confusion, delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest. Lynda Eisenmann is with us. Preferred Home Brokers, welcome.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are no operators standing by. I am it. Well, I got my wrong soundboard going here, so it's going to be kind of fun trying to find things today. I see what we've done. We got a little sound technical. We're always getting new equipment here, so sometimes it does challenges me. It's not the rest of the team. They know what they're doing. I'm just the slow one on the uptake, but I have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan. They're better than me at the soundboard, but I work with you to start off with. I want to make sure that you have the knowledge of what's going on. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And of course, we do celebrate every day, Ron Siegel Radio. You look at some of the items that we're celebrating today, and if I could figure out where the heck my buzzer is on my soundboard, I would be hitting that immensely real quick. But we've got National Mulligan Day. And in case you missed it, there's National Mulligan Day. I don't think we're going to have to do that over and over all day, are we really? Black Poetry Day, Pro-Life Day of Silent Solidarity, okay. Being that I have beaten anorexia, we'll stick with the one that you could probably guess that I would come up with. National Pasta Day. Yeah, we'll enjoy that one just a little bit. Checking on the news of the day, U.S. 10-year Treasuries, 2.306. Pretty much flat right now. That's not good news for our seniors who are living off of fixed income, but that's where the 10-year Treasury is right now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 18 points. We're going to hit another milestone. Could we hit it today? Dow Jones Industrial Average at 22,975. Oil's down 45 cents a barrel at 51.42. So we'll see where that one takes us, but that one's not heading in the right direction there either. You know, to keep oil right in the 40 to 50 range is probably a good number for us in order to keep inflation at a lower number. Now, we did see some inflation numbers, actually production numbers came out, 0.3% increase from August. Close to expectations. September import prices rose 0.7% from August. That was up just a little bit there as well. So we're checking out on some of those different numbers for you. Continuing on in the news, North Korea still a trouble spot for the administration. It's fascinating watching from the perspective of being a financial guy. Remember back in the 90s, anytime you would hear, if you heard any country talking about, in this case, North Korea warns of imminent nuclear war, the market would probably be dropping 5% under those circumstances. Right now, we're not seeing that happening. We would, at the same time, we would see the bond market be going crazy. The bond prices would be increasing because people would be putting all their money, they'd be taking it out of the stock market and putting it into the bond market. Not seeing that happening either. And generally, when people put their money into the bond market, that means you've got the bond prices going up, yields would be going down. We're not seeing that happening either. Very, very fascinating how we've become callous to some of these things. And at some point in time, I promise you it's going to bite us in the rear end, the fact that we've become callous to so many of these different issues. Not good news for our economy, not good news for our marketplace. So we'll keep on watching that. I'm saying right now, be careful. Just watch what's going on. Hillary Clinton back in the news. She's got to keep herself in the news. Who's she blaming right now? I find it very, very fascinating. The latest round, she's over in Europe, unfortunately, and I don't wish this on her. She fell, broke her toe, and had to cancel some interviews. Now, Hillary canceling interviews is probably good. You know, probably good for most of us. Are not happy. We're not happy about her getting hurt. Never happy about somebody getting hurt like that. But the idea of the canceled interviews, it's probably a good thing. She's out there complaining. Once again, it's Russia's fault that she lost the election. Now think about this, just from I'm a numbers guy. Combined between President Trump and Hillary Clinton, they spent over $2 billion on the election. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And supposedly, Russia spent $100 million. Half of it was after the election date. Yet Hillary said that's the reason that she lost the election. Unbelievable. It's still kind of crazy. Yeah, anytime we listen to it. I know President Trump came out yesterday and said he hopes that she runs again. I think that's kind of a very interesting concept. Moving closer to home, unbelievable. Here again, I was at an event last night, candidate running for the 6th District of Anaheim City Council, also over with the great firefighters. I mean, it's amazing when you listen to the strategic plan, separate event, a town hall meeting last night as well. In Anaheim Hills, we had the fire people there, fire chief was there, and a lot of the others talking about the strategic plan of what they learned from the freeway complex fire and how they were able to implement what they learned there into the canyon fires. And they basically knew exactly where the fire was going to go. Fascinating how that could be, and they put assets in those areas. I'm waiting to get the meme or the slide that was presented last night of how much in the way of assets and resources the fire command was able to implement in a matter of hours. And they came out quite frankly and said that based on what happened, now you think about Canyon Fire 1, they went from 25 acres to 2,500 acres in about a week. Canyon Fire 2 did that in about 2 hours. And they ended up going to about 9, the last number that they had shown on the presentation last night, 9,517 acres scorched. Talked about 1,600 firefighters, 255 pieces of equipment. I'm doing it off the top of my head. I'm waiting for the great public information officer from Anaheim to send me the exact slide. And if you watch Ron Siegel Radio, the Orange County Buzz, we'll have all those numbers right in there for you. Unbelievable amount of resources brought in. And then I look this morning and see that Jerry Brown signed a new law for the state of confusion that is going to now offer 3 gender options. 3 gender options. Can you, I don't know, maybe Mr. Brown can't look down and figure this out, but they've got a male, female, or non-binary, which is kind of like none of the above. I don't know how you can be male, female, or non-binary, but that's now signed into law for the state of confusion. Unbelievable. Moving right along. What else do we have going on in the news that we can share with you today? Another one of the loons coming out. Unbelievable. Now this one is another, it goes right back to the same stupidity that we've come into in our country lately. Dana Lash, I mean, this is a crazy one. It gets into the real estate world. That's why I bring this one up. Dana Lash, spokesperson for the National Rifle Association, moving her family after receiving repeated threats from anti-gun types. 39-year-old mom of 2 has been forceful and effective opponent of gun control. Could you imagine this one? And I'm not going to ask Lynda Eisenmann about this question, but I know you've done an open house or 2 in your career. Mm-hmm. Think about this concept. I mean, Dana Lash has her house for sale, trying to do open houses, and she's been under death threats, and her family, her kids. Hard to believe. I mean, can you imagine trying to sell your house while your family's going through that. I mean, security security in this day and age for open houses is crazy.
It is, you're right.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of things going on and it shouldn't be, but adding this to it, it's just a horrible situation. If you're not a gun proponent, you have that right. And you can change the law, but do it a legal way. Follow the law. Change the Constitution. That's your right to do. Go out there and do, get the bills passed. I think the number is, and I'm just doing, again, I didn't look this up prior to coming in this morning, but I think it takes 3/4 of the states to ratify and 2/3 of the Senate. And you can get a constitutional change. It can be done, but do it the right way, not by threatening somebody, threatening their family, threatening their kids. I got in this debate many times following, because I had a lot of friends, a lot of people, ironically in the mortgage industry, there's a lot of people that were out in Las Vegas. And I do have a gentleman that was supposed to be at a conference that I was at and lost his life 2 days before. Young family, he's actually in North County, I think he's in city of La Palma. I don't know if that's actually North Orange County or it might be part of LA County.
It's right on the border.
Right on the border there. But young man, I think he's 39 years old, 35 years old, lost his life, 2 young kids, a wife. Senseless. And then you start people coming out and saying, well, let's create more gun laws. Well, I came up with this concept, and I had some people that did laugh at me. I'm used to that. That's not a problem. But they came up with the concept, and I said, why don't we just create a law against mass murder? And they look at me like I'm a lunatic. And criminals and the mentally ill don't necessarily follow laws. We have to find a solution for it. We have to go back one step further and say, you know something? It's not the law that's the problem. What it is our society, we've done things where we're spending money in the state of confusion, Jerry Brown, on dealing with gender issues, yet we haven't dealt with financing mental health issues, and that's where the problem really is. I'll get off my soapbox. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. Your real estate purchase contract was accepted. Now what? We're going to talk about it. Buying remains cheaper than renting in 39 states. I told you yesterday, $3,000 a month versus a $600,000 purchase. $431,000 difference in your pocket. We'll talk about that as well. Should you get another credit card? I got some questions for you. And how to save money for a down payment, all that and more. You can reach us anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Connect with us, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, on Twitter, @Ron Siegel. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few. We are clear.
Are the people on the right the ones that are listening? How do you know who's listening live?
You really can't tell. Well, you can actually.
Oh, I thought you. Okay.
You can tell who's. Let's see.
Because you gave a shout out to a couple people last time.
Yep, and we will again. So right now, someone named Christopher Flesser is showing up as being there. But we do know that Debbie Maxwell has tuned in. Teresa Timms has tuned in.
Carrie. I know Carrie. Carrie Casaretti joined. Yep.
So sometimes it keeps them on there. It depends on where they came in from too, as well. So sometimes I can just see that they've joined. Sometimes it's like right now we've got 6 people on the Facebook live stream.
Okay.
But it's not telling us who they are. And it could be that they came through one of the other channels that I share. Because this is like any other streaming. You can share it to your page. So I put it up on my page. Then I share it to Ron Siegel Radio.
If somebody else is sharing it live, can you see that person?
It'll say that there's one share going on. That's all it'll tell me.
Okay, I see one share, and that's you, I think.
Could be.
Oh, my daughter. Okay, my daughter is, apparently.
So I've shared it and Mitchell shared it. And there's a James Bertoli that was on there initially. And the fun part is I try and keep it up near the top.
One front is what?
I try and keep it up near the top because then you can see if there's comments made.
Okay.
Like Christina says hello.
Oh, okay. How many seconds behind is this?
About 10.
Oh, about 10, okay.
Here we go. Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Text NEST, N-E-S-T, to 79564. Find your dream home before someone else does. Buying remains cheaper than renting in 39 states. This follows up on our conversation from yesterday where I shared with you and I showed you the exact numbers of how it becomes an issue. Think about this concept. $3,000 a month rent. That is not an abnormal amount of rent in Orange County, San Diego County, and various other parts, LA County. $3,000 a month, not a huge rent number. Or $600,000 purchase. Cash flow difference over 9 years, you come out better with the purchase by $14,000. But think about this, your family's net worth, $431,108 better off by buying a home versus renting a home, and you're still basically doing the same thing. You're just living and having to pay for a housing expense. Then we look and say, okay, buying versus renting. In the latest rent versus buy report from Trulia, they explain that home ownership remains cheaper than renting with a traditional 30-year fixed-rate mortgage in the 100 largest metro areas of the United States. The updated numbers show that the range is an average of 3.5% less expensive in San Jose, California, all the way up to 50.1% less expensive in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and 33.1% nationwide. So think about those concepts. I'm going to post the whole report. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it here today, but buying makes sense socially and financially. If you're one of many renters who'd like to evaluate your ability to buy this year, let's chat about it. Let's talk. Let's set up a game plan to see if you can get that part of that $431,000 in net worth appreciation or increase over the next 9 years, just like I shared with you in that report yesterday. That is the real-time real estate segment, again brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Text NEST, N-E-S-T, to 79564. Find your dream home before someone else does. So this is a special message. Robin, Christina, Christopher, Mitchell, Debbie, Teresa, Lois, Solomon, Davey, Larry, Carrie, Jeff, James, all of you, thanks for joining us this morning. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, the Facebook live stream has a place there where you can put comments in there. It's about a 10-second delay from what we're able to see to what you're seeing right there. But we'll try and get to your questions as well because Lynda Eisenmann has a tremendous amount of experience in real estate, done it at least 2 or 3 days. So
yes,
I'm being kind, Lynda. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
That's okay.
But we want to talk this morning. Lynda came up with this great concept, and I've heard so much about this. Your real estate purchase contract was accepted, now what? And there's a lot of folks that are confused here. So I'm going to throw this to Lynda and let's just chat about this. What do we do? What do we need to worry about, be concerned with after the contract is accepted?
Well, I think one of the very first things that you need to do once your offer is accepted, and by the way, this is something that's somewhat done in advance because a buyer today getting an offer accepted in California really needs to come in with a pre-approval from their lender.
Okay, so we have pre-approval before that.
Before the offer is accepted. So once your offer is accepted, you need to be in contact with your lender immediately to let them know, A, your offer was accepted, B, escrow is going to be opened, and you need to move forward.
Okay.
So I think you start with your lender first of all, because the lender has some things that he or she is going to be going through, and in particular the appraisal process is something that you want to get ordered right away. But assuming that you've contacted your lender, your realtor, your agent is going to be opening escrow.
Okay.
There's an escrow that's open between the buyer and the seller, and that is an escrow company that is usually mutually agreed upon, although in reality very often it's the seller's agent that directs where that escrow is going to be, more often than not. But
is that something that's good, or is that, what are your thoughts about it? I mean, I know that in practice, in Southern California, we don't have a lot of choice.
You're right, we don't. If you're a home buyer and you want to get your offer accepted, you're going to pretty much go along with what the other agent dictates as far as the escrow company. And why is there a difference in the escrow companies? Actually, there is. It could be an escrow company that is completely neutral, meaning a third-party escrow that has absolutely nothing to do with their brokerage. They come under different guidelines in the state of California than a broker-owned, as we refer to an in-house broker. There's different guidelines because there's different regulatory agencies that they have to comply with. One is the Department of Oversight. It used to be the DOC, the Department of Corporations, but it's been the Bureau of Oversight, which is a California state entity that basically oversees escrow companies. That's if it's a truly independent escrow company. An other escrow company can be owned by a broker and can be regulated by the BRE, which is the Bureau of Real Estate.
Is there one that you would recommend versus another?
Well, I personally think that the totally independent through the Bureau of Oversight, a totally independent escrow company is the best because they have far different regulations. They have more requirements that they have to follow.
Seems like with escrow being supposedly being a neutral third party.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be a neutral third party if you're owned by one of the parties?
Well, that's always a question. And even if it's owned by one of the parties, I know this is very technical and it can be very confusing. It can still be under the Bureau of Oversight. And even though they have an obligation and they have a duty to treat both parties fairly, there are times that you could be on the top of the stack or the bottom of the stack when it comes to getting your calls returned, for example. And it's a very minor thing, and hopefully it won't have a big impact in your transaction, but whenever I have the ability to work with a truly independent escrow company, that's what I would prefer myself when representing either a buyer or representing sellers.
And we'll give a good shout out. Who's our favorite escrow company?
Oh gosh, I've got several favorite escrow companies.
Okay, we don't want to put you on the spot then. Okay,
well,
after escrow, where are we going to?
And I will tell you that the escrow officer that you work with is really a member of your team, so to speak, because they're the person that you're going to be communicating with most of the time throughout the escrow. And they've also got to be very good people. A people person, because not just somebody who's very good at paperwork, but somebody who's very good with people, because your buyer or your seller may have a question that they want to get the answer directly from the escrow company. That's quite possible.
Absolutely, and I know from the lending standpoint, I'll throw a shout out. You're right, it's the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was at Merrill Lynch way back when, I used to say that nobody ever deals with the sign. Right, the sign on top of the building is irrelevant, and that's Merrill Lynch.
Exactly.
It's the individual. I deal with a gal named Kim Abbott in North Orange County Escrow. She does a great job, and I know that within 5 minutes of me sending a message to her, an email to her, I'm going to get a response.
Yes.
Right, and that's important because somebody's waiting for that. I didn't just come up with that because I wanted to.
And by the way, they're a company that's been around for a very long time, and we've used them also.
Right, so it's a good one. So after the escrow's open, then what do we do?
After the escrow is open, one of the things that the seller is to provide through his or her agent would be the seller mandated disclosures. Those are the required disclosures, things that that seller knows about the property that maybe that seller is the only one that knows those. those particular items. And there are disclosures that are required by the state of California, and there's also optional disclosures. And I would say the average agent today uses well, first of all, you have to use the mandated disclosures. And some of those disclosures actually have rescission periods, meaning the buyer can withdraw their offer based on anything pretty much that's on, for example, the transfer disclosure statement. And that's a statement that we've had in the state of California since the 70s, and it's a result of a lawsuit that took place in the 1970s. And basically what it says is, if you're the home seller, these are things that you need to disclose to your buyers. And if there's issues with the property, if there's issues with the area, if there's been histories of things going on, those are things that you are required to disclose to your buyer. And for the time those things are presented to the buyer can withdraw their offer within 3 days of receiving that.
So where does this, am I relieved of any of the obligation there if, as a seller, I provide a home inspection report?
If a seller provides a home inspection report, and sometimes they do, and once in a while you'll have a listing agent who wants to get that home inspection done ahead of time, and they'll provide it to a future buyer. That home inspection report was only good for the principal that ordered it at that time. It is no guarantee, it's no warranty, it's no real assurance to a buyer who comes along. A home buyer needs to get their own inspector and not rely on a prior inspection. However, I will say if a seller has done, let's say they've done an inspection in advance, and maybe there's something that showed up. The seller has the duty to make material facts known to a home buyer, a future home buyer. So if there's something on that first report, and let's say the buyer gets their own report a week later, that seller needs to disclose the issues that were on that very first report that the seller obtained, even prior to the buyer coming to the picture.
So you're actually better off, not as a seller, you're probably better off or safer not to do it.
Maybe.
Because it's any extra obligation that you're putting yourself under is just giving you more risk, I think.
If it's a material fact, it better be disclosed. And you know who decides whether or not it's a material fact? A court of law.
And nobody wants to be there.
Absolutely.
Great information. We're going to continue our conversation with Lynda Eisenmann when we come back, talking about your offer was accepted, now what? We've only got through maybe day 2. So we're going to continue the process here. We're also going to talk about, should you get another credit card? We might even throw some of these things out. I might just give our sponsors a shout out, but get more on with the great information that Lynda Eisenmann has for us. Remember, you can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Connect with us. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, on Twitter @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few. We're clear. Good stuff.
We had a property right down the street here, right off La Palma, that we recently sold 3 times. We had to give all 3 of those inspection reports to the buyer.
Wow.
All 3. Because it's not up to us. If there was one material fact in there that we didn't disclose or the seller didn't disclose, when I talked to CAR about it, they said, well, you don't have to give the reports per se, but you have to, went through the thing about material facts, and it's not up to us to decide what's material fact.
How do you determine material fact, right? It's
court of law.
Yeah.
So.
More about all the other financing products available from the Siegel lending team, Call 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Again, call 1-800-306-1990. Rates subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal Housing Lender.
Homeowners that are 62 and older are about to find out a great way to live a better retirement. It's called a reverse mortgage, and SLT can help you learn more. Call the Siegel Lending Team at 800-306-1990 right now to receive your free booklet with no obligation. It answers questions like how a reverse mortgage works, how much you qualify for, the ways to receive your money, and more. When you call the experts at Siegel Lending Team today, you'll learn the benefits of a government-insured reverse mortgage, how it will eliminate your monthly mortgage payments, and give you tax-free cash from the equity in your home. Here's the best part. You still own your home. Now is the best time to take control of your retirement. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990 to get your free brochure. Call today or visit our website at SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Or simply call 800-306-1990.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. You have a credit report? It is wrong. What are you doing about it? Credit Sanitizer has the solution for you. Top 5 credit cards for landscaping projects. You gotta love that one. That's a bit of a new stretch for us. Landscaping projects. So with cooler weather, eventually it will get here. I'm not sure when. Better planning conditions. Fall's the perfect time of year for a landscaping project, but whether you're sprucing up your garden or aiming to improve your home's curb appeal, the expense of a large outdoor project can be daunting. Some credit cards can help, offering you ways to earn cash back or avoid paying interest on your purchases. The City Simplicity card is one of those. It's got a long time period, a teaser, for a 0% APR on that one. So you might like that. No rewards on that one. Home Depot has a consumer credit card, no annual fee, 0% interest rate APR for up to 24 months on qualifying purchases. Think about that one there. Chase Freedom Unlimited, another, again, no annual fee, 15 months of no interest on that one as well. Now, just remember, Lowe's does the same thing. Discover has some similar projects, 14 months on theirs. Just remember one thing, though. Don't go getting yourself in a boatload of debt over this. If you can't afford the payment, if you can't afford to get it paid off in that time period, you're generally going to be looking at an excessive amount of interest down the road. So try and stay within the budget, and we're going to talk more about the budget in the next segments, but that is the Your Credit Matters segment, again, brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. We're chatting this morning. Lynda Eisenmann is with us. We are chatting. Preferred Home Brokers is the name of her company. We're chatting this morning about what do you do after your purchase agreement has been accepted. So we got through, I don't know, that day 1 or day 2, Lynda?
The first couple of days.
We're pretty early on, so what's next?
Well, actually, a lot of it's based on what's in the contract, and that's really the guideline. And it's a 10-page contract, and it's very, very inclusive in the state of California. So what we've already addressed is contacting your lender the minute your offer is accepted. Your escrow is typically opened by the agents, by the brokers in the transaction. And then the seller provides the disclosures within the first 7 days according to the contract. And those are the disclosures disclosures that I said before, that things that the seller knows about the property and the way they're representing it to the home buyer. And some of the disclosures, like I said, also are mandatory, meaning you have the seller absolutely is required by law to provide those. There are other disclosures that are optional.
Okay.
So you're going to have all of that usually within the first 7 days. But one of the things that the buyer needs to address within that first few days is to order the housing inspection. And the housing inspection has nothing to do with the appraisal, but it is a physical inspection. It's a third-party inspection that the buyer normally orders, and you mentioned could the seller get one in advance, and they can, but that's not going to preclude the buyer from obtaining their own inspection. And you really want the buyer to get their own inspection. Sure. You want them to select the inspector, not the agent, not necessarily the agent, but you want the buyers to be able to determine who they're going to use. And very often buyers don't know where to go.
I was going to say, that's going to be the big issue, is, I mean, they have no clue.
They usually don't. And one of the things that I try to help educate our buyers to is there's some great information online with the California Real Estate Inspection Association. It's CREIA.org, and that is an inspection association in the state of California. There's also a federal one, but this one is geared specifically to the state of California. And if you didn't get that acronym, all you need to do is Google California Real Estate Inspection Association if you are a home buyer or if you're a realtor, if you want to see what's on that site. Right when you open the page up, there's information there for agents and there's information for consumers, and also how to find an inspector. And you can actually find your inspector right online if you choose to do so. You can also, and by the way, it'll give you an overview, it'll give you a pretty good idea what that inspector is going to be looking at. And you, as a home buyer, want to be present for that inspection.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. If there's two people, if it's a husband and wife, if it's a couple, whatever the situation is, I prefer to have both of my buyers there during the inspection. And occasionally they'll bring mom or dad or their uncle who's going to kick tires while they're there, and that happens.
Sure.
It just does. But you want to be present for that inspection. You want to know what that inspector's looked at. And at the end of that physical inspection, after a couple of hours, that inspector will be able to give you a verbal recap. And you're going to get a nice written report sent to you online. You're going to have a lot of photos. You'll have a pretty good idea of what you're getting at that point. But it's always good to have a recap, in my opinion, to get that directly from the inspector at the conclusion of the inspection that day.
You know, that the inspection is a key part there, and it's one of the things that kind of disturbs me when you think about the state of confusion that we live in, is that there's so many things that are regulated in our state. You know, the real estate professionals are regulated up the wazoo, whatever wazoo is. Correct. The mortgage people are all regulated. You went through brilliantly the escrow people, their regulations. Yet, you don't even have to be licensed to do a home inspection. Well, you actually don't. And there are some inspectors, and we've used some that they're trained inspectors. They've gone to inspection school, but that does not necessarily mean they're licensed. And and there are times that inspectors are also general contractors. We have a few that we work with that are general contractors. And I don't have an issue of giving a home buyer redacted, meaning sanitized sample reports. And very often if I have a home buyer, let's say a home buyer is buying a home that's built in the 50s. And if a home is built in the 50s, it's going to look different than a home that's built in 2010. Sure. And we have enough sample reports to where we can furnish from at least 4, not just 3, but at least 4 different companies of reports that might have been older construction, for example. And these are sample reports. And they're very similar, but they're not identical, of course, because you've got different opinions from different inspectors. But have an inspector that, in my opinion, that's familiar with the construction of the era is also something that's very important. We've got one here in California. He's in Southern California inspector. He's also a general contractor, and he is one very often that we will give his sample reports out
to prospective home buyers, but he lived in an older home in Orange at one time, one of the old homes in Orange, and right now he lives in a home, I understand, I've never seen it, but he lives in a home that was built in the late 50s. And that's something that I've told some of the home buyers that I've worked with. This particular fella, if you're interested in talking with him, this is his experience. He's a contractor, but he's also lived in older homes versus somebody who may be buying a near new condo, for example. And that's another thing. If we have a home buyer or home buyers who are buying a condominium, a townhome, versus a single family, we try to give them sample reports of what condominium reports would look like.
So you're going one extra step there, because you started off in an area that kind of bothered me a little bit. Not in the sense of any major issue, just that I'm a big fan of the referral. Right, and when going online and going on, and I'm sure this CREIA.org is a great site, but I can find good information online and bad information online. So I love the fact that obviously if there's 4 reports that you're giving samples out, I know you well enough that you're not going to be giving out samples of somebody that you don't trust.
That is correct.
Right? So
that is correct. Absolutely.
In my opinion, yeah, go on that website, but if you've got an agent like Lynda who's giving you 4 reports, pick out of one of those. There's a reason that those people have been, they're giving those samples out.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the website. It will give a home buyer information. It will give them more information to know what an inspector is looking for, whether or not they choose an inspector from that website or not. And I've had a few people who have made their selection from somebody they found on that website, and they've been terrific. They've absolutely been terrific. But I want the buyers to make an informed decision. That's
the whole thing right there.
Absolutely.
An informed and educated. Let me ask you this. Do you want the housing inspection done before or after, or does it matter from the appraisal?
It's the inspection, they're both usually done within the first 7 days. And unfortunately, the buyer may be out the cost of an appraisal in the event that they don't pursue the sale after an inspection has been done. But I can tell you, we have very few sales fall through as a result of an inspection. Very, very few. If there's the issue that shows up, the buyer certainly has the opportunity to request that the seller make that repair. And it's very common for a buyer to have a list, hopefully a short list, of requested repairs. And those are requested repairs. They're not required repairs. They're requested. If the seller decides not to make the repairs, then the home buyers have the option of proceeding or withdrawing their offer. Because that inspection, a satisfactory inspection, is one of the contingencies, the built-in contingencies in our California real estate purchase agreement that protects the home buyer.
And there's a lot of those contingencies in there. We're going to talk more about that as we continue our journey with Lynda Eisenmann. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, more with Lynda. We'll also talk about how to save for a down payment. It's not that difficult as long as you have a plan. Big word right there is have a plan. You can reach us anytime off air, number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, on Twitter @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Are you living in the home of your dreams, or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area-trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Most businesses struggle to get the online reviews they need to get a competitive edge over their competition. Rex is a brand new technology that uses text messages to direct happy clients to your online review sites, Zillow, Google, Facebook, and Yelp, and unhappy clients to a private survey, so businesses can win more customers. Try Rex today by going to www.meetrex.com. Are you currently renting a home? Do you like paying someone else's mortgage payment? Why not explore the options to purchase your own home? Can you imagine a 30-year fixed-rate loan below 4.25% APR? This means with $10,500, you can purchase a $295,000 home and have a principal and interest payment of about $1,400 per month. What are you paying in rent? Does your family deserve the opportunity to take advantage of the current market? To learn more about these exciting opportunities, the Siegel lending team is standing by to speak with you. Call now, 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Or 1-800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal housing lender. Not endorsed or sponsored by any government agency.
Do you have a goal of mortgage-free home ownership? What if your home was valued at $500,000? Are you aware that a free and clear home could be costing you $2,500 every month, $30,000 per year? The mortgage planners at the Siegel Lending Team would like to show you how you can own your home, generate tax-free income, and accumulate family wealth. You simply need to call the Ron Siegel team at 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990. By sending the team a copy of your most recent mortgage statement, the team will send you a no-obligation real estate plan. You be the judge if this is right for your family. Again, all you have to do is send the team a copy of your mortgage statement by email to reap@ronsiegelradio.com or call today. Ron Siegel, 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990.
Rate subject to change and without notice. Licensed by the California DOC and BRE NMLS 217037 and 145502 and Cal BRE 01869452 and 1866775.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by Gold Star Mortgage. They are the only one that I know of that has the Fast Pass loan approval. No more pre-approvals. It's the Fast Pass loan approval. It's already gone through the underwriting process. An underwriter has verified all the information on the automated underwriting system. So your real estate professional, your realtor, can check box J4 on the residential purchase agreement that says no loan contingencies. There's 36 others that are on there that they can use if they need them, but that one just happens to make it, give them a little bit of an advantage. So how to save for a down payment on a house, that is the subject today. Number one, set attainable goals. One of the big issues that I hear all the time, and Lynda probably hears this more than I do, but you have somebody that thinks about buying a house, and they were going to go look at an apartment or a condo. They're looking at a one-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month. Yet you come up with the idea, maybe it would be better for you to go buy a house. And all of a sudden they want a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool and a white picket fence, and they were just looking at an apartment. Let's compare apples and apples and get you in the game. So realistic expectations is number one. You have to stop spending so much if you're trying to save money. Set a budget. I'm going to say take 20% of your net income and put that towards your goal. First goal, get rid of all your credit card debt. Second goal, start putting some of that money into the housing fund, set up a separate account, and also start making sure you have an emergency savings account. You don't want to have to go into debt to fix the tires on your car. Those are just some of the issues. Now, if you take 20% of your income and you're putting that away, within a year to 2 years, you can buy a starter home even in Orange County. Think about that concept. That is the Mortgage Minute. Again, brought to you by our friends at Gold Star Mortgage, the only ones I know of with the Fast Pass loan approval. We're continuing our conversation this morning. Lynda Eisenmann is with us. We are chatting about what happens after your real estate purchase contract has been accepted. We've got through the appraisal process, or we got through the inspection, and I don't want to go through all of the steps. You can go through that. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel the numeral 1 on YouTube, or on Ron Siegel Radio. We've got that information there, but we've got a lot still to go. We haven't even got through, the second page of the contract.
Well, you're right. You're right. Assuming that the inspection came out okay, and there's been some requested repairs made. If you're buying in a homeowners association, whether it's a condo or a single family that has some association amenities, you're going to be receiving the information from the association that is going to spell out what the financial history is or the financial good health, hopefully good health of an association, but you're also going to get rules and regulations, guidelines, things that a new home buyer is going to have to comply with, whether or not he or she wants to change the paint color, for example, on the outside of their home. That may need to go through architectural approval. That's a possibility.
Sure.
So you're going to want to know what the requirements are, and you're also going to want to look, and this is something that I think unfortunately gets overlooked at times. In our California contract, it says that the association, the seller, via the association, is going to be providing the home buyer 12 months of monthly minutes. And those are minutes.
Wow.
Those are minutes that are the association meeting minutes. And I think those could be very, very, very informative. They can be very benign. There's times that I've seen them and the only thing somebody complains about is somebody's dog leaving droppings on somebody else's yard. However, there could be other issues in there. There could be a lawsuit, for example, that has been discussed within the minutes of the association meeting that maybe has not come to fruition yet. Maybe the average homeowners don't know that, the home sellers. And one of the requirements that the home seller is supposed to address through their disclosures is whether or not there's any pending lawsuits. Well, there could be times that maybe the seller doesn't even know about a lawsuit.
Sure.
So if you're a home buyer, you want to make sure that you peruse, you at least want to review the last 12 months of minutes that have taken place for that homeowners association. And that's also part of the seller's disclosure requirement.
Interesting, okay.
That they provide you the HOA documents. But in the contract specifically, it does refer to 12 months of minutes.
Interesting. I've never, that's the first time I've ever heard that one.
And there could be times that you might only get 10 months of minutes, but it says prior 12 months if they're available. And the reason that maybe you only have 12 months is maybe the association was dark in the month of December, for example, or in the summertime.
Right.
But you want to look at those minutes. You want to also make sure the dates on those minutes are the most current.
Interesting. Okay. So we got to make sure. And one of the things that's going to be very, very evident, I know, and you know, I just had this come up with a contract recently. Anything that's in the contract, the lender's going to look at, the escrow company's going to look at. You know, the one that just came up recently that I saw was an agent requested in the contract a copy of the clue report.
Yes.
And in the disclosure or the conditions of the loan, so has the clue report been received and approved? Right, and that's the insurance report.
You're right, and it's a good idea to explain what the clue report is.
Right.
It has to do with casualty loss underwriting.
It's the claim loss underwriting. So anything that's been any insurance claim that's been filed on the property. So if you've had a water damage, a fire damage, anytime that there's been a claim that's been filed with the property insurance, it goes into that report, whether you know about it or not. And if it's in the contract, got to be done.
And one of the reasons that you want to know that if you're a home buyer is the fact that there could be, and I think it's within the past 5 years. I think that's how far the clue report goes back. We had one in particular where we saw what appeared to be water stains on, it was a vacant property, it had been a rental property, and we saw what appeared to be water stains on the ceiling of the second story, and the bathroom was directly above. I mean, and we had a seller who said they knew nothing about the situation, so we asked for a clue report. Because of that, that was something that showed up. Actually, we asked for the clue report in advance with the offer because it was evident to us.
Sure, you knew something was going on.
Absolutely. And sometimes, you know, getting back to the disclosures, the reason those are so important, when you read through the disclosures, there are some times that it will say the seller has to disclose something that's within the past 3 years or the past 5 years, but some of our disclosures say, have there ever been this issue? And if it's something that the seller has knowledge of, then they're duty bound at that point to disclose it. Very often, if it's a home that's been turned over multiple times, the seller may or may not know a situation. But a clue report can be important. And you're right, once it's on the contract, the lender wants to get involved with it.
Sure. And you know, so sometimes those things maybe you may want them do your due diligence. I'm always do your due diligence. Just beware what you put in the contract.
Right.
Okay, after the HOA, what's next on our list?
Well, you've pretty much gone through the obligation as far as for the sellers to provide, and the buyer has the responsibility to either approve or disapprove those particular items and pull out. And it's very rare that, like I said, a buyer does pull out for something like that. You usually work through those things, and you work through them towards the end result, which is a close of escrow. But getting down to the end, the first 17 days is when most of this activity actually takes place.
Okay.
And that's based on the contract. And the buyer is also working with his or her or their lender at the same time to comply with whatever's required as far as lender requirements to get that final loan approval. Once you have that final loan approval, loan documents are issued. And those loan documents can be signed either, very often they're signed at the escrow company. And a lot of escrow companies, as you know now, use mobile signers.
Sure.
Where it's a mobile notary who basically goes out and meets the home buyers at their home or their place of employment and gets the documents signed that way.
And the big thing there is, remember that the notary their job is to verify an autograph. They have no other knowledge of your situation, of your family. So if you've got questions, make sure that you've got your real estate professional and your lender on call, so they know that if they're not there with you, because they're the ones that are going to be able to give you the answers to any questions you have. It's not the notary's job to answer them. And in most instances, I prefer the notaries that I work with, that I have control over. They'll tell you, I'm only here to answer,
right,
to watch the signing.
Right.
Right, because you may have strategically asked for a higher interest rate because you wanted to get a lender credit of some sort, or have something done for you, or whatever the reason is. They don't know those things. So you want to get that information directly from the professionals that you've hired, and you're hiring them.
Absolutely. And the notary's your witness to the day you're signing. That's it. That's the notary's job.
Right. So that shouldn't take more than a half hour or so to go through all of that. But make sure that you have your people on call. So that's a big issue. The real estate professionals also have the method of a lot of the contingencies that are in there. They can, if you need to get out of a contract for some reason, they're your protector.
That's usually within the first 17 days that I was talking about. That's the time period for the majority of the contingencies.
Great information. If you want more information on this, if you want to get directly in contact with Lynda Eisenmann, give me a call at 800-306-1990. Be happy to put you in touch with Lynda and her team. And be sure to set that first radio preset button to come back here every day to join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to John, who's engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And remember, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.